Welcome to this week's Advisor Team Weekly webinar. As you know, this webinar takes place every Thursday at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you have questions, you can submit those within the question section, and we'll go through them throughout the webinar as we take breaks. We also post this webinar on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following the Business Finance Sweep YouTube channel so you're notified every time a new video is added. Let's dive in. Let me show my screen. Here we go. So today we are talking about choosing the right trade accounts. So as you all know, you went through step 1. You made sure you had a good, solid business foundation here. And then you went to step 2 and you answered some basic questions so we could create your finance blueprint and start applying for the financing you qualify for right away. Now, keep in mind, you want to apply for the financing you qualify for right away, not wait until you get done with step 6. That's something that we see from time to time. A client thinks that step 6 is where they get the financing. You're going to work on the financing, the business credit throughout the program. And so any financing you qualify for, you'll want to apply for that within step 2 and then work on building your business credit and other facets so you can qualify for more financing down the road. Okay, so then in step 3, you applied for your free DUNS number and you searched your Experian Equifax files to make sure everything reporting is correct. Once you know the business name, address, etc. is correct on all of your business credit reports, then you will go to step 4. So we talked about some of the hurdles that a client runs into by rushing and getting to step 4 too soon. By rushing and not completing some of those items like getting your DUNS number or making sure your business credit reports have the correct information, you're chancing a decline. And so that's why we have this as a step-by-step process to prevent those type of issues. Okay. So in step 4, you've got that free DUNS number already. All your business credit reports are correct. You've got that good, solid business foundation in step 1, and you're ready to start selecting trade accounts that are going to build your business credit. Now, why do we use trade accounts to build business credit? This is because even though most lenders for business financing check the business credit reports, they don't actually report on the business credit. It's these vendor/trade accounts that report on the business credit. Now, even not all vendor and business trade accounts report on the business credit reports, and a majority of them only report on one credit bureau. So I'm going to check in here, see if we have any questions thus far. Nope, looks like we are good. Okay, let's keep going. So we have to use these vendor and trade accounts that actually report in order to build business credit. There are a lot of business accounts out there that only report if it's late, and that does us no good. So the program centers around these are the trade accounts that report. Here is who they report to, and this is the underwriting criteria. Now, this information is not public knowledge. This is nothing that those vendors publish. This is typically through our relationships with different vendors, through experience and other ways that we're able to know which vendors will actually report regularly and what their underwriting requirements are. Okay, some key things to understand about vendor or trade accounts. Net terms. A lot of them will issue net terms. Now, it's the payment on your credit account with the vendor or trade account that is reported, and they typically offer net terms. What that means is I will give you net 30 terms. You make a purchase today and you need to pay me in full within 30 days. Okay, there's also net 60, 90, etc. Now, based on your business credit, you're going to get better net terms. Okay, and this is something a lot of businesses overlook. I'll talk with somebody that's a well-established business. They typically tell me, I've got this far without business credit, and then I have the privilege of explaining, if we build the business credit, your terms with your vendors are going to improve. So it's going to give you more cash flow. And then there are business credit cards that will approve you without a personal guarantee. And that loan that you're applying for, well, they're going to check your business credit. If we get some credit reporting, it just tips the scales to better terms and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to building business credit. And sometimes we don't notice that we're missing out on these golden nuggets until we're basically told or we see that we're missing out on them. And so that's why we are here to really help educate our business owners on how business credit works and how to optimize it within their business. That's the other reason we give you lists of trade accounts to choose from. Though I could go through and select them, it's more beneficial in our eyes to give you the ability to select those that are the best fit for your business. Now, when you're starting out on building your business credit, think about it. You're just like an individual starting to build the personal credit. The credit approvals are going to be quite smaller than you would typically get with your established personal credit. So we start with these smaller approvals and we continue to build. Thankfully, the process is a lot quicker on the business credit side than the personal credit side. It can take years to get a good credit history on the personal side versus it can take about a year to develop a good business credit history. Okay, so we talked about what the net terms are, what these trade accounts are, and who do they report to. I did mention, so I'm going to mention it again to help bring the point home. Not all trade accounts or vendor accounts report to the same bureaus. Okay, so Home Depot may report to just one bureau, Staples to another. So it's important that you're orchestrating your selection so that you get trade accounts reporting on all of the bureaus. Okay, let's check in, see if we've got any questions. Okay, so I have a question here. Do we update the trade accounts? Okay, we do regularly. We have somebody that is constantly updating these. If a trade account doesn't report, or if a customer service rep states we don't report, there's always more due diligence that needs to be done. If we say they report, they do, unless it's just a recent change, of which we'll look into. But if they are not reporting, what we find is there's a reason. The business account was set up with a name different than what's showing on the business credit report, or the purchase payment wasn't enough for that vendor to report, meaning some of them will not report unless the purchase is above $50. Another facet is if you pay too soon, you don't let that invoice generate, it typically won't report. Most customer service reps aren't even aware that they report or how that reporting works. So it's very common to get misinformation from a general customer service rep. We usually have to call and push through the underwriting department until we get somebody that really knows how they report. So if you're having issues with a trade account reporting, I advise talking with the advisor team and drilling down through which trade accounts you used and they didn't report, and then we can dig into why. Another factor is not giving enough time. Remember, it's the payment that is reporting. So you may get the Home Depot card, but if you don't make a payment for 4 months, it's not going to start that reporting cycle until you make a payment, a purchase and a payment. And even then, depending on the vendor and where they're at within their reporting cycle, it could take 30, 90, some vendors even 120 days to show on that report. So there's many facets included in that reporting cycle. Okay, I've got another question. Okay, to this question, I'm going to ask you to, they've got some general questions about logging in, so I'm going to ask them to call the advisor team. And the phone number there is 800-497-0499. And they will be able to help you. It's just a little too much to go over within this webinar, but they would answer that phone call and take great care of those questions for you and help you log into your account. Okay, keep submitting those questions. We'll keep checking back. Great questions thus far. Selecting the trade accounts. Okay, we talked about that you're going to start with starter vendors. Those applications generally always ask for a personal guarantee. So you're going to leave them blank. That is probably the most common question in this section, is a panicked call stating, the application says I have to make over 2 million and they're requiring a personal guarantee on the form. And the response to that is, through our experience, they still approve. Leave the Social Security number off and still submit the application even if you're 2 million under the 2 million in gross sales mark. Okay, so let's go to our next page here. And this is the starter vendor page. Now, these are the vendors that are easiest to work with. They'll typically approve. Now, just because they report does not mean they're always desirable, the most desirable. You're not going to get the $10,000 Apple credit approval for the business at first. We've got to start with who will approve and who will report. Now, our goal is to get 5 payment experiences reporting before we move to the next step. This is a building process. So we get 5 payment experiences reporting in step 4. And then in step 5, we'll work on another 5. By doing this, we're increasing those approval amounts in increments, and we're increasing the number. And as the trade accounts report, you qualify for more and more vendors. Okay, some of the application tips is to make sure that you review our application suggestions. You know, there's multiple ways to apply. Sure, you could walk into a Staples store, but we find submitting an online application with them is more effective. So there's several tips about how to apply. Make sure you're reading it here in this getting approved section. The other thing is select the accounts that you're most interested in, like this. And then when you get to the end of step 4, the selected vendors, it will give you more detail on how to apply and the links on how to apply. So at this point, you're just simply marking the box, selecting those you're most interested in. Okay? So I went through these starter vendors. Now, as we talked about, these are some services. These are service-based. Some of these are credit-based. Like with Quill and Reliable, you'll need to make an initial purchase. Reliable definitely requires a $50 purchase and payment in order to report. And so you'll go through this list and select a couple of them that you can do business with. And look here, it tells you who they report to. This one reports to all 3, which is quite rare. This one reports to DMB. This one is DMB and Experian, but they typically take about 3 billing cycles before they will report, and so on. So you'll go through, select those that you're interested in, and then when you get to the end of step 4, it gives you the instructions on how to apply. Now, those are the starter vendors on 4.1. Those are the vendors you'll want to start out with if you have no prior business credit history. It's a fairly new business, low income, low revenue generated, and so on. Now, if you have some credit reporting, you've got time in business, and so on, you may be able to select some of these vendors in the latter pages of step 4. Just make sure you're reading this getting approved section to see if you qualify. For instance, with Radio Shack, you should be in business at least 2 years, and they're going to look at the business credit report to see how you handled bills in the past. So you probably want to have something showing. Okay, so you'll go through these, read the requirements, and then select those that you're most interested in. Like I said, we recommend starting with the starter vendors if you have no prior business credit history. If you've got a little bit, you probably can choose some from the latter pages of step 4. But once again, we're giving you these choices and the ability to go in and select those that are best for your business. We're also not reinventing the wheel. You may have some trade accounts reporting, which is fantastic. So we want to open those options up to you. Okay, so you've marked boxes of those accounts you're interested in, and then you can see this is the selected vendors section. We give you some more application tips here, what to do if you're declined, and so on. We've also got these video tutorials. Let's check in, see if we've got any more questions coming through. Okay, what happens if we aren't able to get the $10,000 vendor line on our business credit reports? You need a minimum of 3 revolving to get financing, which I understand. Okay, so let's just kind of clarify. His question is I need a $10,000 vendor credit line in order to get the business credit cards without a personal guarantee. Now, keep in mind, those are at the end of step 5, and right now we're in step 4. And so he asked, what if I can't get that? Well, working through this, if we go through step 4 and 5, you may even want to apply for multiple rounds within step 4 and 5, depending on how much experience your business has had, how much credit experience was reporting when you came in, how new or old your business is. There's several facets, and the advisor team can coach you through that. So if you work through step 4 and 5, you can get that $10,000 vendor credit line. We have tested it. We continue to test it. So it's what you do is you follow the instructions. You can also call your vendors. For instance, if you got approved with Staples in step 4, then you can call them for an increase 3 months later. And you can continue to do that with your other vendors. What happens is vendors mimic the highest approval. So if they see that your Staples card is now $5,000, well, Best Buy will then approve for $6,000, right? And so we're getting those credit limits to move up in increments. So there is a bit of an art to it. And the reason or the way that you get to that $10,000 credit line is by consulting with the advisor team and following the instructions there. Now, the 3 minimum, you state here that you need 3 minimum revolving cards, but what if they're smaller lines? Okay, so it's great to have revolving cards. I think what you're referring here is not the net accounts, but actual revolving credit cards that are store-only cards in order to get approved for those business credit cards without a personal guarantee. Yes, you want to have about 3 revolving credit cards, but you'll get those in step 5 as you've worked through the steps appropriately. If you need help selecting those and getting approved for those, you can consult with the advisor team and they will help you through that. Okay, so here is step 4.6. This is where my selected vendors are. Now, sometimes you do get declined, and it may be a good signal for us that the business credit records aren't matching up, that the 411, the lender wasn't able to verify it. It also may be that the application wasn't filled out correctly, or it may mean that we just need to have the business owner call in and ask, why was this declined and can you do a relook? Now, then lenders aren't perfect. The machines aren't always perfect. We know of several vendors that may initially decline, but with a follow-up phone call, they easily approve over the phone. So keep that in mind, and we do coach you through that within step 4. Okay, the important things to do if you are declined is call the creditor and ask why. That also helps us track down what's going on. If you follow the instructions 1 through 3 and apply correctly, it's pretty rare that you get a decline. So you'll want to work with the advisor team so we can coach you through that. We talked about making sure the correct business information is there, that there's no negative information on your reports that you were unaware of. Verify the 411 listing, and of course, contact the advisor team. We're always here to help. Okay, so we selected these vendors, and by doing so, we get additional information here. So you'll want to read through the Getting Approved section, and then here's a link to help you sign up online. We will tell you those that it's better to call them. Others, it's better to sign up online, and we give you those instructions within this. Once again, your goal is to get 5 payment experiences reporting on your business credit report in order to move to step 5. What is a payment experience? Well, if, let's say, for instance, you do business with Staples, they report to all 3 bureaus. So that gives you 3 payment experiences that you need in order to move to step 5. We try and make this first hurdle as simple as possible because the approval amounts and things when you start to build your business credit aren't as desirable. But we have to essentially pay our dues, get there, get some trade accounts reporting so you can move on. So there's 3 payment experiences if you use this account and qualified, and then you would want to choose maybe Amazon worked. You had 3 years in business and everything else lined up. So that would give you a total of 6 payment experiences. A payment experience is simply showing, look, I did a purchase and payment with Amazon. It's showing on my report with D&B. That's 1 payment experience. With Experian, 2 payment experiences. And with Equifax, that equals 3. Okay, so that is how the payment experiences work. Let's check back in, no questions, let's keep going. That's step 4. So once those payment experiences show on your business credit, then you're going to go to step 5. Now, keep in mind, like I said, you may need to do another round in step 4. If you're a brand new business with no revenue, you had no prior business credit history, you only applied for 1 or 2, you probably need to go through those vendors in step 4 and choose a couple more and get them to report. If you've got that total of 5 payment experiences reporting, you can go to step 5 and start building more from there. Okay, we put this warning here because we simply don't want you to apply for accounts that you don't qualify for yet. Like I said, sometimes we're so excited to get step 6, thinking that's the magic step, where we're really experiencing a lot of success throughout each step. Okay, so there's not a race to get to step 6. It's just a race to complete each step completely and experience the success within each step. Okay. So here are the vendors in step 5. And just like with step 4, you want to start out with the starter vendors, those that are a little easier to get. If you're a business that you only got that bare minimum of 5 in step 4 reporting, you're still fairly new, not a lot of revenue, not a lot of time in business, you'll start with the starter vendors. Now keep in mind, for instance, like Staples, they have multiple credit accounts. One may be a revolving card, one may be a net 30 card. So you may see them listed again. That's simply because it's a new product. Okay. Now, like we did with step 4, it states who they report to, what they do, how to get approved, what's required, and then the terms. This one is a revolving account. This vendor offers revolving and net 30 at this point. And we list accounts they generally should qualify for. Okay, so once you have completed this, your goal in step 5 is to get a total of 5 more, so a total of 10 trade accounts reporting before you go to the business credit cards that'll approve without a personal guarantee. Now, if you complete step 5 and you still don't have that $10,000 high credit limit, I recommend applying for increases with some of your existing vendors, or applying for more accounts that typically have those higher approvals. There's an art to it, and it's not the same mold for everyone because every business is different, and the advisor team can coach you through that. Okay, so we continue through this and till we get to those revolving, the no PG cards. These are the cards that'll approve without a personal guarantee that can be typically used anywhere. These are Visa, MasterCards, or American Express. And these are helpful because you're not personally guaranteeing these. If you're a business that your personal credit is a bit challenged, the revenue doesn't qualify for revenue financing, there's nothing else that makes the business fundable, this is a fantastic option. Even for those that are very, have that personal guarantee, have the revenue and collateral, this is also a great way to subsidize your financing. Oftentimes a client looks at the big need, I need $100,000, but they forget to look at these little areas where if they had a $20,000 gas credit card or a $5,000 no PG card with Home Depot, it would actually alleviate a lot of the cash flow and help them in their day-to-day where they don't necessarily need to get a large lump sum. Okay, so it's important to open your mind, think about how these trade accounts can help your business, and dive right in, free up that cash flow. So at the end of step 5, we do give you the instructions once again on how to apply, and phone numbers, the best way to get it approved, and what's required to get approved, just like step 4. Let's check in, see if we have any more questions. It looks like we're still doing great here. Okay, so that is the art to selecting the correct vendors. Let's go over again what the biggest hurdles are. I would say number 1 is submitting a personal guarantee when it's not required. Keep in mind that they have the same requirements in general as those that'll approve you for a line or a credit card. If you rack up your inquiries on these trade account applications, then you won't likely qualify for the bigger lines, loans, etc. when that time comes. If not, you're working on it simultaneously. So it's important to understand that these can be approved without a personal guarantee if you take this step by step. The other item to understand is some of these in the steps say they don't report, but you can add them as a manual reference with DMB, which is really nice because that is a way to build your business credit with somebody that does not regularly report. Unfortunately, Experian and Equifax don't give you that option to add manual references, but DMB does. Some of the other hurdles, not following the instructions on how to apply the best way, maybe walking into the store where it was best to sign up online. And then the last item is not have completed the steps prior, therefore everything's not in order, or you don't have a full understanding about how the business credit works. So you may apply for something, get declined, get frustrated, when in all reality, it wasn't time to apply for that account yet. So those are some of the items we run into within the advisor team. In general, let's check in for questions. Still doing good there. In general, this goes very smoothly. Those that follow it step by step have a lot of success. It's a building process. Typically takes 6 to 9 months to get those credit cards without a personal guarantee. And this is a great way to build the business credit and work on the financing that your business can qualify for. Like I said, you are applying for any financing you qualify for right away with step 2. And most customers, while they're working on that immediate financing, are also working on building their business credit to increase what they have reporting and promote even better approvals down the road. So that is our tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed it. As you know, you can always call the advisor team. Our trusty phone number is right here. It's 800-497-0499. You can also email the advisor team, advisor@businessfinancesuite.com. We have a fantastic group that gets back to you right away or answers those phone calls and emails instantly. So give us a call and we are here to guide you through the program and any financing questions you have. Let's check one last time for questions. I don't see anybody. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk with you again next week at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day.